The idea to set up a sovereign wealth fund appears to be a good idea indeed. But the question that dodges the whole fund is this: how will the state be able to divorce itself from the day-to-day management of the fund and political interference, which sometimes gets toxic?
In February this year, the National Treasury released the Sovereign Wealth Fund Bill 2019 that seeks to establish a new sovereign wealth fund. The proposed fund would invest revenue from petroleum and mineral resources into three components, namely savings, budget stabilization, and one for domestic spending as well as investment. In 2018, revenue from mineral resources totaled approximately 20 billion shillings. However, the government plans to increase revenue from mineral to around 200 billion shillings by the year 2022.
Liken it to the scenario that we currently have with the NSSF, because initially the NSSF did not have independent and external asset managers. And that is why the fund perhaps then gained the reputation that it has been able to gain over time. But over the last maybe 8 or 9 years, the fund has engaged the services of external fund managers. 90% of the assets are now in the hands of external fund managers, and the performance of that fund has increased and improved dramatically. So I think if we stay within that same framework, and if we then abide to some of those recommendations, we should see the risk of the political interference reduced.
Asset managers are now raising concerns over the proposal that gives the executive significant powers of a fund management, with the powers to appoint board members directly or indirectly, and giving the Auditor General the sole oversight powers. Britam Asset Managers Chief Executive Ken Kaniu says the government should separate the day-to-day management of the fund from the executive.
You'll find that in terms of the runnings of the fund, it will be subject to Kenyan legislation. So as an example, the Public Financial Management Act, that will be the guiding act that will then govern the operations of the fund. You'll find that, of course, as a state corporation, the government has the leeway to then appoint not just members of the board, but also officers of the fund. As an example, the CEO or secretary.
Under the planned law, the stabilization component of the fund will cushion the economy from unforeseen shocks and will receive transfers of at least 15% of total revenues. The infrastructure development component will receive 60%, while the component will get 10%.